Imagine if you could download 12 years of money-making knowledge into your brain like Neo from The Matrix.
I know funnel building.
I'll show you how I accidentally made $100,000 selling a collection of blog posts, my idiot-proof layout for a 60% conversion. Plus, I'll explain exactly how I generate hundreds of thousands of visits a month without sending a single cold email. And to get started, we need to look at your hole. Right, this is what I mean by hole. In your marketing funnel, there are going to be points where customers escape. These are what we call holes. And so at the top, let's talk about how I basically accidentally made $100,000. You need to become absolutely obsessed with what we call your ideal client. You need to research where they hang out. You need to look at podcasts, books, events, Facebook groups, influencers, X threads, websites, blogs, software, Telegram, WhatsApp groups, YouTube channels, WordPress plugins, apps, templates, speakers, authors, insurance. You need to create a social media profile on like Facebook, or what's the other ones? Insta, there's X, YouTube's a good one. And you need to create it as your client and you need to act like them. Now, better still is actually turning your old one into a client profile and you need to act like them. What you should be doing is you should be filling your feed with content that is aimed at your customer. Now, if you can't find anyone else targeting your ideal client or audience, that means they don't exist. So think of a different one. When we've got someone in mind, the next thing to do is to write out 100 problems that your audience has. Like, for example, I use this one on screen here. Now, a problem is not like, does not have a marketing funnel. Like, that's not a problem. Like, doesn't have a content strategy is not a problem. It needs to be something that they think about at night, in bed, when they're alone, at home, at nighttime. That's the moon, by the way. Deep in their thoughts. It needs to be something that literally stresses them out. No one has woke up in the night thinking, oh, I need a marketing funnel. What you need to do is then create content based around one of those problems. So almost 10 years ago, I wrote a blog post, you can still find it, called How to Create Blog Posts That Sell Websites. The problem was selling a website, like how do I sell a website? And the audience is marketers, for lack of a better term, you guys. Now, I wrote content at least 2 to 3 times a week. It was actually easier than people think because I was so deep into the world of my audience that I almost had like unlimited ideas and I knew they had a lot of problems. And so I wrote about every single one of those problems and I created content about it. And most importantly, I talked about how they could solve those problems. And over time, I've written close to 1,000 articles and I've built a pretty decent like Google search ranking in terms of SEO and a pretty decent like traffic source sort of went over and up and up and up and up. And then what I started doing was I started focusing my content on much larger problems. So rather than just how do I sell a website, it would be, you know, how do I make $100,000 business or how do I create recurring revenue? And I broke that content up into smaller chunks, which themselves became the smaller posts. One problem, for example, is how do I scale my marketing business when I'm just one person without hiring a lot of people, without taking a lot of debt, without working myself to the bone? Now, it's worth pointing out that I also created lead magnets for each one of these posts, or at least I added an opt-in form to each one of these posts. And slowly, I built an email list of thousands and thousands of people. And what I basically then created was a list of people who I knew were interested in these topics. I then started a Facebook group. There's other ways you can do this now. And I promoted that Facebook group to my email list. I mentioned it into my blog posts and I used also at the time, I used that as the thank you page for my lead magnet. So this is the opt-in form. I then had basically a video talking about the group. I think at one point I even just redirected them to the Facebook group. And I also added friends from other Facebook groups who I thought might be my ideal audience, and I invited them to the group. Now, over time, what I was essentially doing was writing a book. This whole process here was writing a book. And I compiled my best performing blog posts into a book, my first book, called From Single to Scale. Now, I could tell which sort of chapters or sections or blog posts to include in the book because of the traffic, the views, and the shares. Now, I actually self-published From Single to Scale, and then it was picked up by a publisher. I've since done this 3 times more, with another one probably on the way, but these ones were all like self-published after. Like only my first book went through a publisher. Each chapter had a call to action to a page which had exercises or templates or worksheets or workbooks. And in the book, so they read the book, they then offered like a template, which is a lead magnet, you know, with a nice simple opt-in page. And then after each page, I would redirect everyone to a video sales letter offering them at the time one-on-one, and then it became like group consulting and coaching. Now, I have sold tens of thousands of my book. It's made me a lot of money, like revenue from the royalties, but the real money is when I sold to readers. Selling people a coaching or a consulting offer or a software offer to people who have read my book has literally made me hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, my opt-in pages get about a 60% conversion rate on average. And that's because I do 3 things. 1, I test my offers relentlessly. 2, I keep things really, really simple. And 3, I make very, very big claims. And so this is sort of like a page layout. It's got 4 sections. It's got a headline, it's got bullets, got an image, and it's got a button, and it's got a 5th hidden section, which we call a 2-part opt-in, also called a click pop, to actually collect their data. Now, the headline, that does 99% of the work. If they are not converted by the headline, the bullets will not sort of take them over the edge. The headline needs to do a lot of things, okay? It needs to call out who it is addressing, like the audience. Is it new mums or YouTubers or agency owners? It needs to make a big claim. Specifically, it needs to make a massive, bold, big, juicy, desirable claim. And it needs to set like an unreasonably high expectation that almost seems too good to be true and is something that they desperately want. It is not something you think they want or need. Keep it simple. Money, clients, weight loss, traffic, dates. And then it gives a specific amount that seems, again, too good to be true, like 10 new $10,000 clients or $250,000 a year income, £10, 5 dates, 100,000 visitors. It gives a time frame that is both realistic and seems achievable and seems close enough to be interesting. So like 90 days or 21 days or like 30 hours or 24 hours is a good one. 7 days, 30 minutes, 8 hours, whatever. It tells them that they won't have to do the thing they're dreading, right? There are no headaches with your solution. Things like spending money on ads, starting a business from scratch, writing mountains of content, cold calling, going to the gym, going on a diet, looking creepy, asking for phone numbers. By the way, if you want this whiteboard with all the notes, you can get it just by heading over to sellyourservice.co.uk/whiteboard, and you can go ahead and get this all for free. And then you can also add what I call is an even if bracket, which is like a sub-headline with another doubt, like even if you've never charged that much before, or even if you struggle with selling today, even if you've tried everything, even if you're naturally shy, even if you've tried every diet on the planet, even if it's never worked before, whatever, even if you're terrified of starting, even if you've never had a date, right? There's all these things, right? The bullet points should hint at how it works, but again, not be bland. Clarity is important, but clarity can still be boring. Think of them as like mini headlines. For example, the secret that X doesn't want you to know, as in the secret that marketing consultants don't want you to know, or the secret that gym companies don't want you to know, or the foolproof 5-step method to, you know, getting your first date, or losing your first 5 pounds, or keeping the weight off, or get your first, you know, date, get your first sale, even if you know, don't have a bank account, whatever it is. Include an image of the template or the worksheet. Now, notice how I have not talked about creating the worksheet or the lead magnet yet. Use a button to get a tiny, small amount of action from the customer. We call it tiny skin in the game. That's supposed to be a hand, by the way. And then use that to open up a form and ask for their name, their phone number, and their email. Every single time I tell people to collect a phone number, they'll say, oh, I never give my phone number to anything. One, that's not true. I have literally hundreds of thousands of phone numbers in my database. And also, you are not your customer. You need to create an offer that is so compelling and interesting and that they desperately need that they will be willing to give you a phone number for it. What this also does is create quality leads. And yes, I still get a 60% conversion rate if I ask for their phone number because the offer is good enough, because I have tested the offer. You should also use headlines and bullet points as testing posts and content for things like social media. Use them as subject lines, use them as content, and if it gets views and clicks, then create the page. So we test it by using like what we call quick content, and if that's interesting, we then create the page based on essentially the same offer, the same copy. And then if that page gets conversions, then we create the lead magnet or the PDF or whatever it might be. So how do we get traffic to the page? I'm really sorry, but you need to create content. Now, yes, you can pay for ads. I know that all the Facebook ad bros are in the comments right now saying, oh, I'm crushing it with ads. Fine, knock yourself out, go for it. I have hundreds of thousands, millions, in fact, of visits, and I have never spent a cent on ads for them. Yes, you can do search optimization. Yes, you can do networking. This is how I did it. It might not work for you, but it might. So remember earlier when I talked about focusing on your audience's problems? People think content is hard work because the amount of effort that you put in doesn't necessarily reflect the work that you're getting out of it. But if you change what you write about, you will find content can get very, very quick results and get a lot of results. For a start, most of you only need like a handful of clients, like 5 or 10 clients. Videos with hundreds or even dozens of views can land you leads. It's not a numbers game, it's a small numbers game. Here's something I want you to understand. Clever equals broke. You need to be simple, you need to be understood, you need to be clear, but you also need to be exciting, and you need to have like massive big claims that set high expectations. Do not spend time trying to impress your peers. You need to impress your audience. And an audience doesn't find you intelligent and think that's really good. If they feel intelligent themselves, that's when they think your content is good. What I want you to do is replace the word algorithm with audience. Anytime you blame the algorithm, I actually want you to blame the audience. Does your content, so when we say, oh, the algorithm doesn't like my content, no, it's your audience doesn't like your content. Does your content promise to be so juicy and interesting and valuable that people would feel like they're missing out if they don't click? You need to figure out the claim and the idea first. Then you need to figure out how to deliver after you've got the good idea. Make it as simple and bold and big a claim as possible. Then, I'll show you this. You need to make it like a big, fast, simple, easy claim. And then you need to do it again. Make it even more simple. Make it even faster. Make it even bigger. Make it bolder. The content, the body of the post or the video comes after you have figured out like the title and the idea, and if you're doing YouTube videos, the thumbnail. The body, the content comes second. When you're writing emails, it's subject line first, right? Before you write the email body, at least it should be. For YouTube, it's the YouTube title before you come up with the video. For pages, it's the headline before you create the copy. Again, or at least it should be. Most people's content falls flat because of the entry and the exit. The entry is like your idea, your title, the thumbnail, and the exit is the call to action. I watch so many videos that have no calls to action in them. Make the call to action simple, obvious, and again, really, really juicy. Offer the same result that you are offering in the content, but faster and easier. Your content is probably too dense, it's probably too complex. Make it easier, make it more simple to understand. Bo Miles is a YouTuber who I love. He says, reduce, reduce, reduce.
Reduction, reduction, reduction.
It is impossible to make something too easy to understand. Don't put your effort into creating better content, create better offers, such as titles and ideas and thumbnails. Now, you're probably wondering, well, how do I create now the funnels that are gonna like crush my work and get amazing results for customers? Which is why I want you to watch this video here that shows you how to deliver incredible results to your clients and guarantee them hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of results for free in this video here. So go ahead and watch that right there.